A thread by James Dellingpole at social.quadvirum.com. Most of us here believe that Donald Trump has a plan and that he is about to enter his second term in which he will fulfill his promise to drain the swamp. Does this mean that we are all cranks? Spoiler alert, I don't think so. Let me tell you why I am keeping the faith and holding the line. It has nothing or very little to do with the hopium I've been imbibing from various Q-influenced conspiracy sites, nor, though I am a journalist with connections, do I have special access to insider information unavailable elsewhere. No, I'm basing my analysis on stuff we already know. That the presidential election was stolen through a variety of nefarious means, that Trump is not a quitter, that it was his mission from the start to drain the swamp and tackle globalism. We may not have understood quite what he meant at the beginning. We do now. And that he knows, as we know, that if he loses this one, then it is game over for the Republic, and beyond that, Western civilization. Never mind the more esoteric stuff, some of which may well be true, a lot of it, which is surely fantastical ravings or deliberate misinformation. We don't need any of that to form a sensible, considered view. If you accept my initial premise, and I think it's pretty hard to refute, you don't think there's evidence about the stolen election? Well, I'm sorry, you are either too ignorant to debate or arguing in bad faith. Then I think it follows that ours is the reasonable, sensible position. So I just wanted to ask a question which has been puzzling me. Why are we so isolated? In Britain, pretty much the entire conservative commentariat, the hacks, the think tankers, the politicos, conceded the election to Trump immediately and has doubled down since. But this is largely true in the US too, where I'd hoped the commentariat would be more robust. Obviously, one expected the National Review crowd to surrender the pass. It's what they do. But even quite a few, if not most, of the voices I'd considered red meat conservatives have behaved like pussies. They've acted throughout as if the checks and balances built into the US Constitution are still working, that the system isn't broken, that this period is just a blip, which can soon be resolved by the midterms in 2022, then the presidential election in 2024. Now, if anyone out there is delusional, it's the people who believe that. I was trained to think critically at what was then one of the best universities in the world. If I'd tried that level of stupid in an essay, I would have been torn apart in my tutorial and given a gamma. I mean, seriously, how can it not be totally obvious that if an election is stolen by cheats, and if those cheats are allowed to prevail, then they will continue to cheat ad infinitum? I rarely make predictions. It's a mug's game. I just try to do what journalists are supposed to do, sift through the available information and try to form the most intelligent conclusion. What amazes and disappoints me is how very few people in what we call the Fourth Estate, the media, appear to be capable of this activity. I'm not selling hopium. Nothing I've said in this thread is nearly as exciting as the next level shit I delightedly read from people like J.E. Dyer and Draw and Strike and Rex and my much missed comrade in arms, Thomas Wichter. Spoiler alert, he's here on Quadvirum. My purpose here is merely to share with you a critical thinking exercise, or if you prefer, it's Epistemology 101. How do we know what we know? Everything I write is, I hope, derived from first principles and based, I hope, on Occam's razor, or as Sherlock Holmes put it, quote, when you have eliminated the impossible, what remains, however improbable, must be the truth. These principles, I think, should be our anchor. The religious among you will equate this with God's truth, and I wouldn't quibble with that. So I'm sort of thinking aloud here, thrashing out my ideas in public as I often do with my columns, which I never plan. They just kind of splurge out. But the rambling does have a purpose. There can't be anyone here who hasn't had dark nights of the soul and who hasn't been attacked personally or been written off as a loon by friends, colleagues, even family. And if we're going to take this position out on a limb, it's very important that we all know in our hearts and in our intellects why we are out on that limb. Otherwise, it will be all too easy to succumb to self-doubt and despair. May I finish by asking a question, largely directed at American readers? I'm curious as to know who in the US, among the commentators, has held the line. I know Mark Stein has. But who else has been rock solid and based? That's the end of the thread. It's lovely to have James Dellingpole here on Quod Virum. To support Quod Virum, go to quodvirum.com/support us to support this channel. Lots of links in the description. I'll be doing another live stream tonight. I'm open to suggestions as the topic. Thank you very much.